Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. I am here with my co-host, Bodine Sanders. Our featured correspondent, Adrian Farris, should be popping on any minute. He's having a few technical difficulties. If not, you're going to have to rely on Bo and myself for baseball knowledge. We can fake anything. Fake it until you make it, they say, right? So how's it going, Bodine? How's the week?
Week has been great, very busy, lots going on in the sports world. So it's going to be a very interesting night. So let's jump to it.
All right, so let's jump to it. We promised last week, and Justin, our super fan and researcher, our number one guy, is reminding us that we said we were going to start the show with Bubba Wallace, and we want to honor that. So what are your thoughts on that? Amazing feat, and very impressive 58 years later after his predecessor. And what do you think? I think that's pretty impressive. Wendell Scott won in the first 58 years ago, 1963, even older than us. So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I wasn't born in 1963. Well, here's what's fun. Here's what's ironic. He won the race in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, and they did not give him the award, the trophy, because if you know the racing industry, the winner would be surrounded by beautiful women who were white, and they didn't want this biracial guy, because he's biracial, Wendell Scott, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't want him taking pictures with those women, so they gave the second place guy. Can you hear us, Adrian?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Welcome. We're talking about the 1963 race, the first person of color, because he was biracial, Wendell Scott, who won a cup race. Mm-hmm. And that race happened in my hometown of Jacksonville. And so they just recently gave him, his family, because I believe he's no longer with us, gave his family the trophy because he won, because they didn't give it to him back then, because of the reason did you hear me explain the reasons why they didn't give it to him? Were you a part of that? Did you hear it? So they awarded his family the trophy finally in Daytona Beach, which is only an hour and a half from Jacksonville. And so Bubba Wallace is the second person. He's also biracial, if I'm not mistaken.
He is.
Won a Cup Series race. So that's a long gap. And probably the reason, we could talk about a number of reasons why it's taken that long. It's probably taken that long because a lot of people weren't interested in going through what Wendell Scott went through. It was probably easier for people of color to get involved with football and basketball and other sports at that time, right? So those are that's one reason why there could be a gap. Also, if the industry isn't treating people of color fairly and the sponsors aren't there, because it costs a lot of money, right, to participate in that sport. If you don't have the sponsors, you don't have the backing, how are you going to compete? Unless you have somebody with deep pockets like sponsors. So there's a number of reasons why that is a long gap. But kudos to Bubba, because he hung in there, especially with the controversy from last year, right? You remember the controversy about a noose hung in, and it just happened to be, what do you call it? The pit, not the pit. What do you call it? The stall. His team was
in garage, actually.
In his garage, right? So the FBI had to get involved, and we want to trust them at their word to say that it wasn't intentional. It was probably left there. from a previous group because there was no way someone knew he was going to be in that specific garage when he showed up. At least that's what the FBI said. So we've come a long way. We're making progress. Everybody's making progress. It's not just Bubba. Everybody's making progress. But then we have the issue that we're going to get into later with John Gruden. So we'll get into that later.
Do we want to wait? I mean, it's the hot topic.
No. Let's wait. Let's get baseball. Do you want to wait, or do you want to do baseball in the end? Do you want to stick with the topic and do baseball in the end? You all right with that, Adrian?
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good call, Joe. Good call.
I think it's well, you start. What do you think? It's problematic for me on many levels. Of course, it's problematic. We have two stories this evening that I find are very problematic for me, and we'll get to the Washington football team next. But I think it's disheartening. I think that it's egregious on so many levels. It's not just homophobic, it's racist, it's misogynist. It's just a litany, a history of just disparaging all types of people except, white men, I suppose, white heterosexual men. I guess that's his only following. But I think it's also, to me, it's just so hypocritical. You have Carl Nassib on the team, and you're out here toting and supporting him when behind closed doors you're just
stabbing him in the back. Yep.
Yeah, so offensive. But I think on another level, the fact that it's just coming to light now, obviously it was well known. It was well documented, and he wasn't having these conversations alone, and nobody brought it to light until, a decade later. And I think that that's part of the problem, that we have people who are sheltering people, and not only that, elevating them, promoting them. He's in the head coach position in the NFL. How, that's pretty impressive position. And it's a really hard fall. I'm glad he fell, but I think that it's just because somebody leaked it. It's not because of his character. It's because it came to light.
Not only is he a head coach, he is the highest head paid coach. He got a $100 million contract plus bonuses, which would take him up to 118 to $120 million if he would have lived that contract or remained during that contract.
I can see. Did he receive any of it? I mean, what happened when he left?
No. He's been the head coach for 4 years, so he's been paid $40 million.
No, I know, but what happens to the remaining? Is he entitled to any of that, or
it depends on how the contract is structured, right? If he resigned because of cause, because the team was going to get rid of him because of cause, then maybe they don't owe him that money. We will never know unless somebody leaks it out, right? So the chances are he's probably not going to get all of it. He might get half of the 60 million remaining. He might get half of it. But that's not my concern. I mean, that's on the owner. If the owner wants to pay him 30 of the remaining $60 million, that's on him. That's not the issue. The money isn't the issue, right? The issue is how he got caught, why he got caught, and the entire process. And like you said, Joe, it stemmed from the investigation in the Washington team based on their issues and that investigation and the scrubbing of all emails and cell phones and anybody connected to that organization. So you're talking about 650,000 from what I saw emails or documents that are out there. That's a lot of documents. Put it this way. I think some other people are in trouble. It can't just be John Gruden, who he was exchanging emails with with the then Paul Allen, the general manager at the time. So there had to, and then the question is, who did the general manager forward those emails to, because they were part of that group of people communicating? The NFL knows a lot. But go ahead, Adrian. Tell me what you think, Farris.
Well, I think you know how it is when something surfaces like this, and it all surfaced with, DeMaurice Smith and the comment he made to him. Generally, when that first comment is found or the first infraction happens, then it's just a snowball effect. Everything else starts to come to light, and that's obviously right. That's obviously what happened. What happened right here? Disappointing.
Oh, no question.
It's more than disappointing for me. I mean, as somebody that watched Gruden all the time with his quarterback deal on ESPN, and you think it's a pretty cool guy, blah blah blah, and now you get this, and and it's funny how someone will apologize knowing these other things are there, and they'll apologize and try to move on, knowing you just have to know that the rest is coming. You know what I mean? And with his brother, and obviously with what's going on with the Washington football team, and his brother having been the head coach there.
That's right. I forget his brother was the head coach
of the Washington football team.
Yes, so he was.
That connection, and then there's the other side. They were talking about the NFL, about people being angry about him not being dismissed sooner, and I think this was a mutual thing, because Mark Davis really likes him. I think he and the owner of the Raiders are really good friends. So I think it was a situation where Davis didn't really want to fire him, so they had to come to the mutual decision to for him to step down. But now, with all these other things coming to light, now we know why everybody was so upset that it took so long to happen.
Because they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Right? And the way the media plays it, and the way that the NFL played it, again, this is my opinion, the NFL knew, somebody within the NFL leaked it. They leaked the first story, right? And then that gave the owner of the Raiders an opportunity to say, okay, do something. And when he didn't do anything, and then they appeared on TV, right? What was it, a Thursday night game or a Sunday night game?
It was Monday night. Monday
night game.
Yep.
And when the NFL, whoever leaked it, said, wow, he didn't fire him? Okay, here comes the rest. Boom, boom, boom. So it was a strategy of giving the owner an opportunity to make a decision, and his hand was then forced because the rest of the information came out. And Gruden had to know the rest was going to come out, because for him to say he didn't remember those emails, come on. This is John Gruden. He's a quarterback guru. He remembers everything. Come on. Oh, yeah. You can't say you don't remember. Part of your job as a quarterback guru and a head coach is remembering, recalling, right? That's how you beat other teams, knowing what other teams have a tendency of doing in certain plays at certain time periods. So he can't fall on, I have a bad memory or I don't recall. Come on, you can't do that. Because in sports, Joe, when you play sports for a long period of time, you develop a photographic memory, meaning you develop recall better than the average person, because that's part of the job, is mentally remembering everything you've been taught forever. Yeah. Right? Am I wrong, Adrian?
No, absolutely. It sticks with you.
It sticks with you. So there's no way I saw that press conference. I'm like, come on, man, you can't say that and then walk away from the reporters. Stand there like a man and deal with it. So, and then did you see what's the former wide receiver, Keyshawn Johnson? Did you see that?
I didn't hear what he said, but I could just imagine.
Well, do you know the story, Joe, about
Keyshawn? I didn't hear that.
Keyshawn Johnson used to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When Coach Dungy got fired and went to the Colts, he basically built the Tampa Bay team. And then Gruden came in after him and won the Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's team. And Keyshawn Johnson and John Gruden had a falling out. He suspended Keyshawn Johnson for 6 or 7, maybe 8 games because they butted heads. And Keyshawn, and I remember it like it was yesterday, he was preaching and screaming off the top of the mountain. That dude's a bad guy. But Keyshawn, nobody believed him. Why did no one believe him? Because we thought Keyshawn was a diva. Yeah. Keyshawn was Terrell Owens. He was T.O. before T.O., right? He was a diva. So everybody was like, oh, that's just Keyshawn being a diva. Wide receivers are divas, boom, boom, boom. But here we go. Years later, turns out that Keyshawn was right. He was saying to everybody, that dude is a bad dude. He's fake. He's not telling the truth. He's lying on me. He's lying on about everything. And here we go. So now Keyshawn can hold his head up higher than he did before because he was right. He was proven right.
Did you say anything about it this week?
Oh, he was on ESPN and he roundtable, big time discussion. And he was spilling the beans. Now, here's what he said. He never said back then that Gruden was a racist. He never said that. He said it was a bad guy. And I'm happy he didn't say he was a racist because you don't know what's in a guy's heart, right? Now, he said a racist thing. He said a misogynistic thing. He said a whole bunch of bad things. But was he saying it because he's a bad guy? Was he saying it because he thinks he's better than everybody else? Because there are too many other players and people he's worked with that said they never saw that. They had great conversations with him. He was a good guy. And so it's pretty tough to determine whether or not he's in that bad racist category or if he's just a bad guy that said bad things, and those bad things are still bad. I mean, that could be part of other folks' conversation.
Yeah, I think that raises, and quite frankly, I've never thought about it from that perspective. I mean, I think that we're conditioned to believe if someone, for instance, says a racial or homophobic slur, that they are homophobic, or I never thought about it from the perspective that necessarily you're not a bad person, you just said a bad thing. I don't know. It's very difficult for me to wade into that. I mean, not certainly on the racial point of view. From the misogynistic, I think in most instances when people say misogynistic things, that's true to their character. I'll let you guys wade into the racial debate, but for me, it's hard to separate the two. I think that especially people who are intelligent, know that if you're saying those words, especially in this day and age, it's not going back to 2003, it's going back to 2018, that if you are intelligent enough to hold that position, then you're intelligent, then you can't eat that. It's almost as if it's a seamless utterance. It's part of your character and it's what you're saying. I find it, I can't characterize it as just somebody saying some bad things. To me, it's more demonstrative and more indicative of his character.
Well, I wrote about this in my book, and maybe since you both have read it, maybe you'll remember this part. When I lost Coach Ferraro and the new defensive back coach came in, and my playing time went from here down to here, and my mentor, Mr. DiCarlo, who was absolutely amazing and had a very quick temper. I don't know if you remember Mr. DiCarlo, Adrian. He worked in the cage with Bob Lambert. You don't remember? Yeah. So when I showed up for work study, Mr. DiCarlo asked me, so what's going on? Did they give you a scholarship? I said, no. And he flew off the handle. Like, he was throwing furniture in his office all over the place. He was so mad. He wanted to go to the coach's office. And I was thinking, I am glad that I didn't do what some people do, which is pull the race card. I didn't pull the race card and say the new coach didn't like me because I was black, because that wouldn't have made sense, right? He's coaching other black athletes. So if he dislikes me because I'm just black, then it doesn't make sense, because he's starting other black athletes. So I was glad I never uttered that phrase or those words. What I did know was I was not being treated fairly, and I had to suck it up and move on, right? So the lesson I learned was it also takes character and discipline to not call somebody something when you can't prove it, right? And that's the problem some people fall into. They fall into the easy way out by saying, oh, they're racist. Well, not everybody's racist. Some people might just be jerks, right? Some people just may not like you because your personality doesn't fit with theirs. Some people may not like you because you intimidate them, right? So we can't be throwing the race word or racist word around all the time until somebody proves that they are. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but what do you think, Adrian? I don't think it's as simple as that in this, because regardless of the fact of whether I dislike someone or not, I'm not going to use a racial or derogatory term. There are plenty of women I dislike. I don't characterize them. I don't use. There are certainly black people that I don't like. I certainly don't characterize or describe them or label them as any derogatory term. I think that even when I don't like someone, I have a level of restraint and maturity, and that's not part of my vocabulary. It's not part of my makeup. So it wouldn't even be in an offhanded, no matter how mad I am, those words aren't going to come out of my mouth. I think that's the difference. And I think that's how we recognize and reflect and know that it's part of people's character. I think in regard to the misogynistic pieces, I mean, what about the emails? I mean, the Washington cheerleaders are saying that, pictures of them topless. I mean, that's not even characterizing somebody. That's really a violation of. It's much deeper than just well, it is misogynistic, but it's also that's abusive. It's a violation of privacy. It's degrading. It's demeaning, and it's illegal.
I think it's borderline crimes, aren't they? Aren't they crimes?
I don't think I think they're crimes. I think that you're publicizing and sharing things, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's being shared with other coaches who I'm sure passed it along. Nobody turned it in, and I was privy and part of an investigation once, an email investigation. And I shouldn't say I was part of it, but it was part of my organization. And the people who didn't, even though they deleted the emails, they didn't share them, but they also didn't report them. So they were being held as accessories to the person. They were, I don't want to say it wasn't murder, of course, and it was a different scenario, but they were equally as culpable as the person who shared it because they did not turn that person in. And I think that we have to think about that in regard to all of these coaches and what they're doing here. He wasn't circulating the emails to himself. He obviously had an audience.
Yeah, I mean, so, in this case, you go from racism to misogynism to homophobia. You go from this is obviously who he is. You know what I mean? And I was going to say that, as we grow up and as we go through life, we do things that are wrong. We may say things that are wrong, but and you mentioned it before, Joe, as you grow up and you mature, then you just don't do those things anymore. My wife laughs at me because she's like, I never hear Adrian curse because I just don't. It's not a part of what I do. So when these things happen, it's if they constantly happen, it's who you are. I mean, and as far as Washington's concerned, there's obviously a lack of institutional control when it comes to the Washington football team, because not only do you have the events that happened with the cheerleaders, did you see most recently how their head trainer was just he was not at their last game. He was investigated, and I think he was arrested for some type of drug
distribution
outside of the norm. And that just happened in the last 2 weeks. Did you see that?
No, but let's say allegedly.
No, it's allegedly, but the FBI came. Right. They shut him down. He did not travel with the team. They raided his house. They raided the Washington's facilities. I mean, it's for real. So there's obviously a lack of institutional control in Washington.
And you know what that means? They're about to get a new owner. Because this bad publicity, the NFL can't handle it. You can't beat the Shield. The Shield is the Shield. And soon as one owner says the owner of the Washington team got to go, others will fall in line. And then the owner of the Cowboys, he will. Yeah,
Jerry Jones, he'd be the one, right?
Well, I don't think he's going to do it. But I think what will happen is others will do it. Since he holds so much weight, he'll hold off for a little bit just to save face, and then he'll cave because he'll have to, because when they put it to a vote, the vote wins, right? So, that's what's going to happen. In the next 3 years, the owner of the Washington football team will not be the owner of the Washington football team.
It's possible. I
would put money on it that I don't have right now. I would put money on it because you're right. This is crazy. And remember, 650,000 emails. What else is going to happen that we're going to find out about next week? And then the week after that, it's going to snowball. This thing is going to be huge. And
don't forget how it started. 15 women in the organization are accusing high-level executives of sexual harassment, and that's where we're emanating from.
I think it's now up to 40.
Oh, 40.
It's up to 40 now. Yeah.
Well, Brandon has a great idea.
What's that?
I should be the owner of the Washington football team. I like that idea. So we're gonna have to put some publicity out there. And we also have Loro is joining the conversation as well. So I want to acknowledge that too. Hi everyone. Hi Loro. So Brandon, good tuning in. We haven't gotten to baseball yet, so we're going to segue into that soon. So that's really Brandon's area of expertise too, and I'm glad that we held off on that so that he could hop in the conversation. But I think this is such an important conversation, and I think when you think about it, just think about it. When any of these scandals break, there are going to be other teams to follow. Because that's what's going to happen, right?
If they were sharing emails with other teams or individuals on other teams, this thing can get ugly. right? It can get extreme. And there's a lot of investigative reporters out there, and they're trying to make a name for themselves. So they are digging. They are digging right now, and they have relationships in the FBI. They have relationships in security companies. So they are trying to find information so they can break a story and elevate themselves to going from a field journalist, investigative reporter to getting a promotion or being on TV. I'm telling you, this thing is going to get ugly. And the bottom line is, go ahead.
There's got to be payoffs. I mean, did you see that the women involved in the scandal are indicating that the lawyers were trying to pay them off for their silence? I mean, that broke this. I believe that was this week as well. And I think that's probably widespread in any. I don't want to generalize, but I would have to believe that in organizations that have a history of the NFL has some corruption in it, that this isn't the first instance of someone being offered to be paid off for a cover-up.
Well, what happens is you pay off the people who will take the money first and get them out of the way. Therefore, the people who have the means to hang in there, the longer they wait, the higher payout they're going to get. So you try to take care of who wants to take money now. Fine. If you got 40 and 10 take money now, great. Because once the settlement hits, that big pot will be shared with those who hung in there the longest, right? Those who could hang. Right. And so, and it's the reason it's a shame that this is happening right now. Let's segue to the positive. There are so many women doing great things, breaking that glass ceiling, from head refereeing in the NFL, the NHL. We talked about, the young lady who's announcing the Sixers game. I mean, there are so many great stories out there that women are breaking that glass ceiling, and now we have to deal with this crap.
Don't forget Joe Tierney co-hosting the Bo and Joe Show. So I don't know if we want to say, but we have some football questions, some NFL questions.
Go ahead.
So Tim Fielder saying, Bo, what did you do to my Panthers, man?
Well, you see, I got the old retro Eagles cap on. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, we needed that win. We really needed that win because the Cowboys, that's why Adrian's smiling. He's a Cowboy fan. The Cowboys are balling, and there's no way we're going to catch the Cowboys if we're losing 3 or 4 games and we're behind them 3 or 4 games. It just that would be crazy. So we needed that game because guess what's happening tomorrow night? Tom Brady's coming to town tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football. Yes, I want the Eagles to win, but let's keep it real. Tom Brady with a sore thumb or a sore finger is still going to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. He did last week with a sore thumb.
Saying so to the Panthers. Right. So I will say of course, I was very fortunate that I picked Tom Brady in my fantasy football team, and he's just crushing it for me. I don't even need any other players.
That's crazy.
And so what else do we have? And then Tim is also saying Deshaun Watson hasn't been mentioned in a while. What are our thoughts on that?
That's a problem. Now, with this issue with Gruden and the emails in Washington, it's now regenerating a conversation, right? The conversation had quieted down, right, for a while about the Washington issue. So now this brings it back to light. Who in the world is going to trade for Deshaun Watson with his problems looming behind him? That would be crazy. So they need to just cut that dude and let him go, because the longer you keep him on the roster. I'm sure there are women organizations that are pounding on the what's that? He was with Houston. Is that who he's with? Yeah. I'm sure there are organizations pounding on the door. Women's organizations pounding on the door, standing outside the garage with protest signs saying, why do you have this guy on the team? So they've got to make some decisions soon as well. And when's the trade deadline? November?
Oh, I'd have to look.
Yeah, November.
But Bo, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
And this is how the Deshaun Watson. Don't you get the feeling that the Texans are kind of protecting him? I've gotten because they haven't released him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I know obviously there's money there. You know what I mean? If they release him, they may still have to pay him.
Right.
But the fact that he's not on the field, he's not playing, he's not even on the roster, but he's still there. I just kind of, through this whole thing, I've just kind of gotten the feeling that, okay, once they could not trade him, they're just kind of pushing him down and protecting him and trying to keep it quiet. That's the feeling I'm getting. And maybe it's wrong, but that's just the kind of feel that I get from it.
No, you're not wrong. I just didn't think of it that way. He is on the roster. He has to be on the roster because he's not injured. And he's not on the NFL's, pseudo IR list in terms of, he's not on punishment officially by the NFL. So he's still on the roster. He's just not practicing. He's not practicing with the team.
Right.
He's not coming to the facility because they need him to stay away because people are protesting. I'm pretty sure they are. I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure they are. I hadn't thought of that protection. I'm thinking that they're waiting to get closer to the deadline, the trade deadline. And if nobody steps forward and presents a trade that's beneficial for them, they're going to cut him. They have no choice. They can't keep him on the roster.
I agree. I just thought they would have cut him sooner.
No. I don't know enough about the bylaws. I don't know enough about the salary structures and how you pay people and how you don't pay people and how all that works. But just from the lack of knowledge of what I just know, I'm thinking trade deadline, Miami or somebody else doesn't make a trade because they need a quarterback because their starting quarterback got hurt. Their backup quarterback is terrible. They say, okay, there's nothing we can do. Let's cut him. And then wash their hands of him. That's what I'm thinking. But I hadn't thought of that. They're protecting him because if they're protecting him from what he knows. Why? He's going to implicate somebody else within the organization because somebody else was involved. That's a possibility. Sure. Now that you raise that up. Go ahead, Joe.
I was thinking too about the inside of these organizations. Obviously, an organization, any football team, I'm sure, is a very diverse and populous organization. I mean, what do women inside the organization say? What do other employees say? You were talking about the protesting, but I was thinking about what are the other employees internally saying? I'm sure that there are certainly some divisiveness. I think,
they're not saying. No, they're not saying a word. They want to keep their jobs. Oh, no. They're not. No.
I don't think that they have any protections. They don't have any.
You meaning if they had a run-in with him regarding the situation, that's one thing. But if they're just offering their opinion about what they feel about the entire situation, I don't think they're saying anything. But if they had a run-in with him regarding that particular issue, then they need to get a lawyer. Because then they become a whistleblower and then they get protected, right? So
I guess that's especially for Washington. That's exactly what the women did. So I suppose that you're probably right. And I'm thinking too that is when I'm saying it's diverse and populous. I'm sure that they're probably male-dominated organizations, even off the field and on. I would guess.
Well, we as of this moment, we have 2 minority owners in the league. Buffalo in Jacksonville. And that's it. So you're talking 30-2. Tell me how that's going to roll. Like I say, this is, and there's a lot of people who do not like the National Football League. There's a lot of people out there with axe to grind. So as much as I love football and I love the National Football League, I know this story ain't going away. More stories are going to happen. This thing is going to get really ugly with 650,000 documents. Oh, it's a shame because it's been such a good football season already. We've had overtime games every week. We've had this past weekend
5 missed field goals.
No, not 5. 15 total. But yeah, right.
That Packers Bengals game.
Yes, I mean it's been a great football season with incredible. The quarterback in Baltimore, that dude has got a gun on him. I mean, people thought he was just a running quarterback from Louisville. This kid can throw the football, right? Over 400 yards, over 300 yards in the fourth quarter. I mean, just some really good football happening out there. And it's a shame that we have to deal with this because it's not going away.
No. Well, I think it's all part of society. I mean, it's becoming more. It's becoming more widespread. So, of course, the NFL is going to be like any organization. It's really emanated from the Me Too movement, and it's just picking up steam. And it's just when we and I don't want to say when we think it's going away, but it's hit the entertainment industry. Now it's hitting the sports industry, and it's going to trickle down to private industry and governmental agencies. I just think. It's just the nature of society today. Well,
I have a saying, people are people. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what you own. It doesn't matter. We're all, what's the word? We're all fallible. We're all, I mean, so it doesn't matter.
But I agree. I totally agree. And I agree with both of you. It comes a point in time when you have to mature, you have to get older, you have to evolve, and it's all about your character. And yes, we're allowed to make mistakes when we're 25 years old, like Warren Sapp famously said, 25 without a kid and a conscience. Yeah, you can make mistakes, but you can't be making these type of mistakes when you're 50, right? That means
absolutely.
That means it's who you are, right? That means it's who you are. Yeah.
And I agree with that.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, but that's true in our day. But today, if you're 25 and you make a mistake without a kid in conscience, it's on camera and it's going to come back. So the people who are 25 today, and even who are 18 or 17, they don't have the same luxuries that we had to make those types of mistakes. And they really have to be mindful that every single individual on the planet with a cell phone is a paparazzi. And unfortunately, their reporters, their news media, people today have to be more mindful and of a simple, nothing is just a simple utterance anymore. Even if you're drunk or young, or unfortunately, that's just reality.
Because we live in an information society. We're no longer just an industrial revolution society. Now it's about information, and technology allows us to have access to information, regardless if it's good or bad. You have to make the decision if it's good information or bad information. But that's where having mentors, having folks around you, being around good people, right, can help you navigate making those decisions. I mean, it's still the old saying that we heard growing up is still true today. Our parents told us, you hang with the good kids, because if you hang with the bad kids, it's going to rub off on you. You want to hang with the good kids so the good stuff rubs off on you, right? That's what my mom told me, right? And I'm sure you've heard that before, right? So it doesn't take a rocket scientist in terms of EQ and IQ, right? Emotional intelligence, right? And intelligence to, based on what we know now, to get the right information from the right people, hopefully your mentors and family members who are mature, giving you the right information. And then you make the decisions from there. You make the bed you lay in. How about that old one?
And that's a good one. But I think it's also it's worth noting that there are many children out there who don't have those types of mentors or
No
parental
question.
support.
No question.
And those are the ones those are the ones who are going to get caught up in unfortunate situations.
And that's why nonprofits are doing good work out there. That's why sports organizations are supposed to be getting out there in the community and saying to the kids, hey, listen, mind your P's and Q's, do this, do that. That's why your image, your brand that they see on TV, your character matters. The decisions you make on TV matters, right? Your personality, your attitude, all those things matter. No question, because we know people value what they see on TV.
That's absolutely right. So we're getting down to our last 15 minutes. We didn't even get to baseball or we barely touched on football. So I think we better jump in. Adrian, we better start talking about the MLB before we run out of time.
All right, well, we can do that quickly. It's really not that hard. So the Braves have punched their ticket to the National League Championship Series. Okay, Atlanta Braves, you got this Comcast puck out there.
Yeah, it's hockey season too, baby.
That's right. Hockey season. Right. And in the American League, we have the Astros and the Red Sox. Astros making their 5th consecutive American League Championship Series after the scandal
of cheating
that happened over the last couple of years of them cheating to get there. Now, hopefully, I guess they're doing it on their own, resting on their laurels and playing good baseball. So what's interesting for me, I said last week, you asked me who I thought was going to make, as I said, Dodgers and the Rays, and the Red Sox beat the Rays 3-1.
First they beat the Yankees. No. First they beat the Yankees.
Settle down over there. Yeah, they beat the Yankees. Then they got the Rays this week. They beat the Rays 3-1. And there was an interesting scenario that happened in Game 3. So series tied at 1 in Fenway Park. Game tied 4-4, top of the 13th inning, and the Rays are up at the plate, and Kevin Kiermaier's up. There are 2 outs, top of the 13th, 3-0 count. Yandy Diaz is on first base, and he battles to a 3-2 count and then drives a ball into right center field that hits the wall, comes back and hits Hunter Renfroe and bounces over the wall.
Yep.
Now, baseball's baseball. Ground rule double. If you hit a ground rule double, the runners on base only get 2 bags. Well, in this case, it was a little different. And even I looked at it, I was like, wow. Is that really the case? So off the wall, Renfroe's going to make a play on the ball. The ball bounces back off the wall, hits Renfroe, and goes over the fence. Now, this is the leading run. Diaz definitely would have scored from first base on that play. And so umpires get together. I guess the rule is that if a ball is deflected over the fence by a player, it's a ground rule double. Takes the run off the board, which would be the leading run. Now, who knows what would have happened at the bottom of the inning? Bottom of the inning, they came up, hit a 2-run home run to win the game. But if they go into the bottom of that inning with a 5-4 lead, pressure's different. Right. You know what I mean? So, and it's 1-1 series. It's in Fenway. It's a 5-game series. So whoever wins Game 3
usually wins.
They're in charge. They usually win the series. So the Red Sox, they got that break. No runs scored. They win, and they go on to win the next game and beat a team that's Tampa Bay is actually a more talented team than the Red Sox. So that was very pivotal in what happened. So we've got the Astros and the Red Sox, and then on the other side, we've got those Giants and the Dodgers playing tomorrow night in Game 5.
Yep.
So we have a question about the Astros, and Jason's asking, do you think the Astros have proven they can get there the right way?
I think they have. You know, the Astros still have very good pitching. Their lineup is very strong top to bottom. I mean, you know, they got Springer's gone. He's in Toronto now, but they haven't lost anything with him being out of the lineup. The Astros lineup is almost as good as anybody else's. And then their pitching is what's going to take them to the top. So obviously the Red Sox have gotten past the Yankees, they've gotten past the Rays. I'll be very surprised if they get past the Astros. But you know, that's where baseball is baseball. You know, you're only as good as today's pitcher. You know, so you know that's kind of the way that goes. But on the National League side, you've got the Giants and the Dodgers, 2-2 series, Game 5 coming tomorrow night in San Francisco. You know, we know that the season was separated by one game. You know, the Giants won the division by one game, and that one game is the 12-11 series win that they had over the Dodgers for the season. So this is a very tight series, very tight season. The Dodgers actually took 6 of 11 in San Francisco this season. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow night. You know, the
Giants will win.
Well,
Justin's on the Giants.
Yeah, Justin knows, but Justin's already calling it. He's saying the Giants are going to win. So
yeah,
Hey,
I wouldn't doubt that at all. I just think these teams where they are now, obviously the Dodgers are the more talented team. The Dodgers are supposedly the best team in baseball.
They've got good pitching.
But the Giants, what they have done all year, you don't win 107 games by mistake.
Right.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I think it's going to be a late inning win for whoever ends up winning the game.
Yep.
I think it's going to be tight. You know, the Giants have Logan Webb on the mound. He was 20-3 on the season, 2.9 ERA. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
The way I see it, the Giants win ugly, and the Dodgers is the team that wins the fancy way of winning, right? Yeah. The flashy way. That's the better word, the flashy way of winning. They've got, you know, the Dodgers got Mookie Betts, who hit that home run the other night, and, you know, he is so smart. I didn't know how smart he was until the announcers was talking about how smart this guy is. Like his IQ and EQ is just off the charts. So, you know, when you have that kind of chemistry on the team, it can help, especially if you're playing in someone else's ballpark, because the crowds, you know, in baseball, it's a different kind of crowd than, say, football and in a basketball arena. Those are three. Have you ever noticed it? Those are really three different types of crowds, right?
They are.
And a hockey facility. That's what makes the four sports so different. Each of their crowds in those sports, those crowds are just different. So it's a different kind of crowd. So I like the playoff baseball crowd. It gets really loud.
Yeah, they do. That. They do. And it'll be pretty disappointing if the Dodgers don't win this game, having picked up Trey Turner and Max Scherzer from the Nationals at the trade deadline. Trey Turner, you know, one of the best players in baseball. Great addition. So,
isn't the Dodger payroll higher too?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Magic Johnson's cutting a lot of checks, ain't he? He's cutting a lot of checks. That's because he can afford it.
He can.
No doubt.
All right, so that's something to look forward to. So here's the big dilemma, Bodine. What am I supposed to do tomorrow night? Am I watching the game? Am I watching football? Am I watching baseball? I have to have 2 TVs now.
Well, I don't think. Do they still make those picture-in-picture TVs? anymore. What I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the Eagles Tampa Bay game on, and then I'm going to have. I have with Comcast, there's a button you can hit where it populates the scores on the right side of the TV screen, so I can follow the score. I tell you what, I think that baseball game is going into extra innings. That could be a 1:00 in the morning game. Right? It could be a 1:00 in the morning game. So if Tampa and the Eagles end at 11, I've still got time to watch that baseball game, because I have a feeling it's going to be a long inning. I'm on a long game.
Well, it's a 9:07 start, so that game's going to still be going when the football game's over.
Absolutely, no question.
Another sleepless night. Is that what you're telling me?
This is what happens. Oh,
enjoy it, Joe.
Listen. I was up the other night. Remember the other night the it was the Kansas City game that got delayed an hour and 15 minutes because of the rain, right? And that game I was like, whoa, this is some serious late night football. I'm enjoying this because I'm screaming and yelling. I didn't care about my neighbors at all. I didn't care about who was walking down the sidewalk outside. So no, I appreciate it because I'm a night owl. So it doesn't bother me at all. I'm up.
All right. So we're at the last minute. We're gonna have to go over because we didn't even get to the NFL yet. What did we think about that? I mean, you're right. We did talk a little bit. There's been some exciting games, and we're going into week 6 already. What are we thinking about week 6? It looks like another good week. A lot of good matchups. What are the games to watch this week?
We found out that the best team in the league record-wise is the Arizona Cardinals, 5-0. We found out that Buffalo is a very good team. They whipped up on Kansas City. We found out Baltimore has the cojones to come back, being down 19 and win and come from behind because their quarterback can actually throw the ball and run. We found out Green Bay isn't dead. We found out that Pittsburgh Steelers is. Right? So we found out a lot of things. The LA Chargers is for real. The Rams have come down a notch. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm telling you, it's exciting football. There's some good quarterback. Chicago, their rookie finally pulled out a game. The Jets and the Giants are horrible.
They're struggling for sure.
Just horrible.
The Giants are a mass unit after Sunday.
Absolutely, right? Right?
They were dropping like flies.
They were dropping like flies. Yeah. And again, the best Diggs in the family is the cornerback for the Cowboys, not the wide receiver from the Buffalo Bills. That kid is going to get a huge payday, right? That kid is balling. So listen, I'm telling you, it's going to be and with that extra game this year, it's really going to put pressure on some teams. People think, that extra game is going to make it where teams don't play people towards the end of the, closer to the end of the season. No, there's going to be a reason that teams have to play that game in order to get into the playoffs. That last game of the season, I think, is going to matter for more teams than what people think. So, what do you think?
When is the game in London? Is that this week, or did I miss that one?
Oh, no.
Well, they played Sunday. It was this past
Sunday. How did that go?
But there's another one. There's another one this coming Sunday.
Who's playing in London this Sunday?
Oh, you don't want to.
Dolphins and the Jags.
Yeah, you don't want to watch it. It's my hometown. You don't want to watch it. We didn't even talk about Urban Meyer.
No, I know.
How about that bonehead? Right?
Well, we talked about him last week, but
did we?
Yeah, we talked about him last week, and then
but his apology was terrible.
Yeah, his apology was terrible. Well, I think he made his wife look like a fool too, but just by his comment, we've been together. I believe he said we've been together 32 years, and this bump in the road isn't going to derail us. I think that if it had been my husband, I certainly wouldn't want him speaking for me in this situation. I certainly have a voice of my own.
There you go.
And if she wanted to come out and say that, and I'm not saying it would be. If people make mistakes, he could be drunk and just flirting. There are people who are flirtatious. I recognize that. I can be flirtatious in some situations, but he went a little bit above flirtation. But regardless, I can speak for myself.
He shouldn't have been in that spot, right?
Yes.
He should have left with his team to fly back home because you lost the game. Who cares? Who cares that you had grandkids? You got enough money to fly the grandkids to Jacksonville. I'm pretty sure he's got a big mansion on the beach in Jacksonville that's got plenty enough room for his entire family. Fly them to Jacksonville if you want to see your family. But you don't leave your team after you lose. That's the worst thing you can do. You lose the game.
And your grandchildren weren't at the bar.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Come on, man. Just boneheaded plays. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't get it. So what? I don't have my schedule in front of me. I can go get it. Do you have the schedule? Yeah. Who? Start with the games. The 1 o'clock games, and then the 9:30 game. Well, you already said the 9:30 game.
Dolphins Jags at 9:30. Chiefs in Washington at 1 o'clock.
That's a Chief win.
Be interesting to see because how the Chiefs are playing defensively. Rams Giants in New York.
Rams win.
Texans Colts, 2 1-4 teams that are supposed to be. Well, no, Texans aren't supposed to be better, but the Colts definitely are supposed to be.
Well, our former quarterback played good the other night against Baltimore. He actually threw for over 300 yards. I think he threw for 400 yards. Mm-hmm. And that helps the Eagles because if he plays 75% of the plays, the offensive plays, we get a number 1 draft pick. We get their number 1 draft pick. So let's hope he stays healthy and keeps playing so we can get that number 1 draft pick. Go ahead.
Bengals Lions. 0-5 Lions. See if that Lions can get off.
Don't you feel bad for the Lions?
Yes. Yeah, really bad. Because they played to win. They played to win on Sunday. Yep. They did what they needed to do.
2 weeks in a row, they could have won. They got robbed. Yep. That's so bad. I feel so bad for them.
Packers in Chicago at the Bears.
Oh, that's a rivalry game right there.
4-1 Packers, 3-2 Bears.
That's a rivalry game.
Yep. Should be a good one. Yep. One of the games of the week, Chargers-Ravens. Chargers are in Baltimore to play the Ravens. That's a game of the week there.
That's a game.
Yep. Vikings-Panthers in Charlotte.
That's a good game.
Another game of the week, Cardinals-Browns. Cardinals go to Cleveland, play Browns.
Yes, that's a great game too. The Browns got something to prove.
Yeah, the Browns haven't beaten that good team yet. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that'll be a good game to see. Raiders Broncos. Who's the who took over for Gruden with the Raiders? Do you know?
The special teams coach.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Raiders, another rivalry game in Denver. Cowboys at the Patriots.
Yeah.
Cowboys should take care of business there.
Yeah, but Bill Belichick, he's going to come up with some kind of defensive scheme to slow the Cowboys down. And so it'll be an interesting game. I think it'll be an interesting game. The Cowboys should win it, but it'll be an interesting game. I just hope my quarterback from my hometown, Mark Jones, the quarterback for the Patriots, does well.
Mac Jones. I think he might. I'm a fan of his, and Justin. He's
Oh, he
already
loves
saying
him.
Mac Jones for Rookie of the Year.
Hold your horses, Justin.
Yeah, I don't know
Hold your
about that,
horses.
Justin.
Hold your horses, Justin. It's early. We just finished a quarter of the season. Hold your horses, brother.
Then the 8 o'clock game, Seattle and Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's a snoozer. Oh,
Now
no.
Now the
Oh,
Steelers won this week.
Hold
The
on,
Steelers
no.
beat the Broncos this weekend.
You're right. And the Seattle quarterback is out
That's right. Russell Wilson is out.
because of the bad finger.
Yep.
Yeah. So that could be a really good game.
Then Monday night, a good one, Bills-Titans.
Yes.
Yeah,
That'll be a really good one.
I like the Bills quarterback. He is a tough kid and he can sling it and he's not afraid to run it. That dude's like, what is he? 6'6", 6'7"? What is he? 6'6", 235, 240. He's running over people. He don't care.
Yeah, he's good. That's classic being overlooked on draft day. How many teams went past him to get somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the best quarterback in that draft.
He's got something to prove.
Yep, he's good.
I like him.
So that's the week.
Woohoo!
Mm-hmm. All right. So I don't know what's going on. We might have to start making the show a 2-hour show.
If all this other stuff keeps coming up in the middle of the week, right?
Right. If everybody keeps screwing up, it's cutting into our sports time. It's getting into the diversity. We might need an hour on diversity, an hour and controversy, an hour on diversity and controversy, and an hour on sports.
Listen, there's so much going on. Yeah, I mean, if we will tackle the issues as they come, right? And so now we didn't even talk about Kyrie Irving and him not getting a shot, right? I mean, so we got basketball season, hockey season, baseball playoffs, football. What else? What other sport is happening right now? Is soccer happening right now too? Can anybody know?
We got World Cup qualifiers, right?
Right, that's right. So we got it. And then listen, we've always got golf going on, right? We've always got golf. This is my Howie Long golf ball. If anybody can see that. I'm trying to turn it the right way. There we go. How about that? Howie Long Classic.
We didn't even get to the WNBA and Diana getting the GOAT title. We didn't get to that.
Oh my goodness!
I'll talk about that next week.
I'm telling you, we've got everything going on. Everything going on. And listen, somebody said to me, somebody asked me, did I think? And I think somebody on our program, Joe, asked me this. Do I think there'll ever be a woman that plays in the NFL? And I think the answer I gave it. Do you remember that? Didn't somebody ask us that
Yep.
a while ago?
Justin asked if we'd ever see a female kicker.
And I think I said a female kicker, definitely a holder for the kick. But then I started thinking about it. If you take one of these outstanding female athletes, be it a track athlete or a female from the WNBA, like a point guard who's fast and quick, I could see a woman being a receiver if she's fast and quick, right? I could see that. Would she be able to take a crossing pattern or a post pattern? I don't know. But could she do a 5 or 10 yard out? Yeah. Because that's limited. That would be putting her in a position not to get hit by 3 guys versus 1 guy tackled. Right? You see what I'm saying? So
but how do you think the men would feel about it? I mean,
they'd have to get over it. They'd have to get over it. You mean how they gonna feel?
Well,
they gotta get over it.
I meant in regards to tackling a woman. I mean, that might be problematic for some men. I mean, that's a tough one.
It's a tough one, but I'd like to think that if that wide receiver if she's a female wide receiver and she's on the Dallas Cowboys team and the Dallas Cowboys is playing a rivalry game, be it the Giants, Washington, or the Eagles, whoever that cornerback is going to have to say, listen, I'm getting paid to do a job. She's getting paid to do a job. But guess what? If she's a great athlete, she could embarrass him. So it's not about whether or not he should make the tackle. It's whether or not she's going to embarrass him because she's good enough to run a 5 and 10 yard out, catch the ball, and get a first down, because that's what matters, right?
So yeah, I think today's athlete, if whoever's on the other side of the ball is legit and belongs on the field, they're not going to care. Right. They're not going to care. It's if it's somebody that's just there because they want them there and it's to, fill a quota type thing, then they would care. Right. But if that player is legitimate and can play the game to the same level that they're not going to care.
Well, look at Nassib. We talked about Nassib a couple of weeks ago, right? We haven't heard anything else about him other than he's playing ball for the Raiders and he's contributing to the team. He had a great sack that caused the fumble. There's no controversy, right? The only controversy happening with the Raiders is their head coach who just resigned. There was no controversy about Nassib. He's playing ball.
He is a man. He is a man. He did have to take a personal day when the news broke. They said that he requested a personal day and he did not want to be at the organization.
Well, can you imagine how he felt? He's had conversations with the coach. He's thinking, right? Remember, players generally will run through a wall for their coach. The head coach, the position coach, it's all about relationships. So if you've got the head coach telling you, I love you in practice, preseason, guys, I want the best for you, right? You can imagine the lingo. I want us to win. We have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Let's come together as a team. These guys are like, okay, this coach has our best interest at heart. He's trying, he wants to put us in the right position to win. And then all of a sudden, this news break that he's done the things that he's done. That's hurtful.
Yeah, definitely.
It's hurtful.
Definitely. Justin has a good point. What about, and I know we spoke about this a little bit, and I have to scroll back up to his comments, but if I can find it. What about the WNFL? Right? Why don't the women get their own league just like the WNBA?
Didn't they try that? Isn't there some kind of women's league out there already?
Yeah, there's a semi-pro league of women out there across the country. I think we have one in Philadelphia. I think, again, you have to have the money, you have to have the sponsors, you have to have the organization, the foundation to grow. I mean, it's hard to run an organization like that. I mean, come on, look how many other leagues have been created but died. The USFL, right? Other leagues. I mean, I haven't heard anything about the Arena Football League. Are they still around?
I think so. I think we have a team it's recycled. No team can ever stay. But I think the Women's Football League, and didn't we talk about this? That they actually have to pay to play. They don't get paid. They have to pay to play.
Because they don't have sponsors. They don't have the TV dollars, the marketing dollars, all that stuff. So it's just tough. It's tough. Could it happen if they had the foundation? Sure, it could happen. But they need the support. I mean, look at what the women's soccer league is fighting for. They're fighting for more dollars so they can get paid close to the money that the men are making. Right? So it's all, it's you got to have the support. And not just from the fans. You got to have the support from corporate America. That's where the money comes, and TV contracts, right?
Absolutely.
We're on our way. Listen, we got William Shatner, Captain Kirk, flying into space, right? So we're making progress.
Right. If Star Trek can come to life, anything can happen.
We're making progress.
All right. On that note, that's a perfect note to end. Well, I'll let you guys do. Any closing thoughts, Adrian? What do you think is going to happen throughout the course of the week? Any predictions?
I think the Dodgers get it done tomorrow night. Looking forward to this weekend in the NFL. Once again, we're going to find out about a couple teams. NBA starting up next week, next Tuesday. NHL, I'm a hockey fan, so and NHL's back on ESPN, which makes it even cooler in my book.
Did you see that new team last night in Seattle? What are they called?
The Kraken.
The Krakens. Yeah. I love their jerseys. They pop. Don't those jerseys pop?
Yep. So we're getting in the heat of it.
Yes, we are.
Perfect.
Yes, we are.
All right, close it up, Odin.
Well, listen, my Villanova Wildcats are ranked number 7 in the country in Division I AA. We just upset JMU, who was ranked number 3. So, yeah, we lost to Penn State 2 weeks before, but we're back on track, baby. Yeah.
Really well. I don't know what you think, Adrian, but it seems to me as if Bodine's been shopping for some props this last week. He's got a prop for every sport.
Yeah, he does seem to come up with something different every week, doesn't he?
Joe.
He does.
Joe,
it's all sitting there in that room.
Joe, you have no idea what I have.
It's all sitting there in that room.
Listen, you have no idea. I have more hats than you could ever imagine. I've been collecting hats since I was at Villanova. I have 30-gallon storage bins of nothing but hats, golf balls with logos, golf, sports memorabilia. I mean, I have so much stuff. It's ridiculous. I can pull 2 30-gallon storage bins, pop open the lid, and find stuff that I forgot I even have. Believe me, I will be bringing out more props, more hats throughout this. I'm telling you, I have so much stuff. It's ridiculous. I forgot my little race car because I knew I was going to talk about Bubba, right? And I forgot it. And believe me, I pulled it out for that reason. It's sitting right over there. I just didn't want to walk away and go get it. Believe me, I got tons of sports stuff.
All right. Well, we're going to let you do it. Run over and get your car. You have to now.
I'll get it. I'll show it next week.
All right. So thanks everybody. Thanks everybody who tuned in. Thank you. We have Brandon on tonight, Justin, Jason, Tim, and of course, thank you, Adrian, for being our special correspondent, and my main man, Bodine, and of course, our sidekick behind the scenes, Chris. Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you next week. There's lots going on.
V's up.